having a look at this first one we've got here, just a bit of a reminder of some of these things. The only thing I guess you need to be careful of is the use of the product rule. So we've got x squared minus 2xy plus 3y squared equals 50. Rayhan, do you want to talk me through this differentiation?
So x differentiation normally equals to 2x.
Yep.
The next one comes to y divided minus 2 and then differentiate x squared.
So you get
Minus 2 and then brackets x dy by dx and then plus y.
minus 2x dy by dx. I don't think you get that. Why don't we do this bit a little bit more slowly? Why don't we use that u is minus 2 and minus 2x and v is y. So u dash is minus 2 and v dash is dy dx. Oh no, you did say that right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Took the minus 2 out.
Yeah, okay, so we get minus 2x dy dx
Minus 2y.
minus 2y plus
Plus 6y and then
dy by dx equals
0.
good, to make sure it doesn't equal 50. Sometimes people have that as 50. Just this thing that we've got down here, it's actually quite easy to see how this is a result of the product rule, because you can see you've got the minus 2x staying the same and the y changing to dy by dx. Then for this bit you can see the y staying the same and the minus 2x coming minus 2. Particularly for those of you who do further maths, we're going to do lots of product rules in our questions without actually writing down this thing that we've got down here. Also, for those of you who are going to be going and doing engineering or a maths related degree, you probably won't be writing down the product rule in the future. You'll just be doing it in your head. And then I guess you just collect together the like terms. So maybe we put some of them onto the other side. Which side did you put them onto, Rayhan?
So keep the dy by dx on that side.
You kept them on this side, okay. So you got 6y minus 2x dy dx equals
2y
minus 2x. So then you get dy dx is 2y minus 2x over, and then divide everything by 2. So you get y minus x over 3y minus x. You could, though, if you put everything all onto the other side, I'm guessing that some of you would have ended up with something that looked like this, where you might have ended up with dy dx equals x minus y over x minus 3y. Did anybody get to that last stage there and think, uh-oh, something looks like it's gone a bit wrong? What did you say, Sufyan? Yeah, just take a factor of minus 1 out, or multiply the top and bottom by minus 1 over minus 1. In other words, just changing it by multiplying by 1. And you would actually end up with y minus x over 3y minus x. So that's what part A of the question is. Now, without looking ahead to what part B says, what do you think that part B is going to ask you about in this question? It could ask you to find the stationary points. It doesn't actually ask us to find the stationary points. If you have a look at the diagram,
Find the tangent to the
yeah, it wants us to find out something to do with P and something with Q. So they're not the stationary points, okay? They're not the stationary points. Yeah, Ekram. They're the undefined points. They're where the gradient is undefined. So actually, we're gonna work on that for this. Whoops, that's one of our homework questions. So I'm actually going to show you what the question was, and this is from the new spec kind of question, so it's worth thinking this is the kind of thing you might come across in the exam. They have given it this ridiculous, like, fake real-life context. They have said the curve is used to model the shape of a cycle track with both x and y measured in kilometers. Like, why they're pretending it's about a cycle track, I don't know. But it says the points P and Q represent points that are furthest west and furthest east of the origin, as shown in figure 4. So clearly this is the one that's furthest west and this is the one that's furthest east. And then it says, using part A, find the exact coordinates of the point P. We're only interested in P, we're not actually interested in Q. What were you going to say?
Is the origin the midpoint?
Yeah, so actually we're going to then presume this looks like it's pretty symmetrical then. So yeah, the origin looks like it would actually be the midpoint of the thing PQ as well. I didn't think of that before. Okay, so we talked about this just now. We talked about how the fact that the gradients here and the gradients here, that if you have a vertical gradient, we said that vertical gradient is undefined. Now, if the vertical gradient is undefined, that must mean that this thing here is undefined. When are fractions undefined? when the denominator is 0. So this whole thing is undefined when 3y minus x equals 0. In other words, when x equals 3y. Great. What do we do now that we know that x is equal to 3y? That's not telling me any coordinates at all. What could I do? Good, yeah, this initial equation is almost like a recipe that will be able to give you coordinates. So if you know you've got this equation and you've got this equation, it's simultaneous equations, okay? Best way of doing this simultaneous equation, if we're trying to find the coordinates of P, actually it doesn't really matter what I'm trying to say there, so ignore me. We're going to do this, and we're going to substitute this in here. That's all we're going to do to find out those coordinates. This is the kind of extra twist on a kind of question where you might have to do a simultaneous equation to get some coordinates. So I wonder if we can squeeze that in here. We're going to substitute 3y in place of x, so you get 3y all squared minus 2 times 3y times y plus 3y squared is equal to 50. So this is 9y squared minus 6y squared plus 3y squared equals 50, which is just 6y squared is 50, y squared is 50 over 6, which is 25 over 3. So y is equal to, it's 5 root 3 over 3, but it could be a positive and it could be a negative. But you now need to decide whether you think the y coordinate, the one we're looking for, is positive or negative. Why is it negative? Good. P is negative because it's below the axis. So we know that that distance there is going to be 5 root 3 over 3, and that distance is also 5 root 3 over 3, but P is the one that is negative.
So the positive value would be for P then?
The positive value would be for Q, yeah, so it's actually giving us both of these things that we've got here. So we know that for P, it will be the negative value, so minus 5 root 3 over 3. But how am I going to find out what the x coordinate is? Good, we already said that x is 3y, so we're just going to do 3 multiplied by minus 5 root 3 over 3, which is just minus 5 root 3. So we get minus 5 root 3, minus 5 root 3 over 3. Then the last part of the question says, explain briefly how to find the coordinates of the point that is furthest north of the origin. You do not need to carry out this calculation. So how can you explain to me where the point that's furthest north is? What can you tell me about something when it's furthest north? Good. dy by dx is equal to 0 at this particular point up here. So if dy by dx is equal to 0, what do we know at this point? Yeah, we know that y minus x is equal to 0. In other words, x is equal to y. And then you do the same process again. You substitute in and find it out. And you need to tell them something in particular because of this. What do you need to say in your explanation? Pardon? Good. Take the positive values. You should explain that you want to take the positive values for the northern one, because it could produce negative ones, which would give you the southern one. Now, all of that explanation is for 1 mark. It's almost like you'd rather just do the question. Do you know what I mean? It would actually almost be easier to just be like, okay, I'll just do it and show you that I know how to do it. Almost in maths, it's harder to explain something than it is to actually just to do that question. Yeah. Okay, so I would actually write it, what I'm about to say. So explain briefly how to find the coordinates of the point that is furthest north. I would say, at the point furthest north, dy by dx equals 0, which means that y is equal to x. So I would substitute y equals x into this, and I would write down what that says, into x squared minus 2xy plus 3y squared equals 50. I would find a solution, take the positive solution, and then find the corresponding solution with it. It's a lot to write down for 1 mark. They probably would expect less than that, but if you know how you do the full process, just spend a bit of time to ensure that you get that mark and to do it clearly, okay? So what I'm going to ask you to do is, I think we've already done this top question, so I just want you to try this bottom question that you've got down here. It's going to include that skill that we just talked about, trying to find, looking at the dy by dx when it's in terms of x and y. And then we'll probably be finished up for break time. So just this bottom question that you've got down here for me.